The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched higher than any human building. 47 species sat in their designated seats, each one representing a civilization that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. At the center of the floor stood two humans, and they looked very small. Captain kept his back straight in his military uniform. Beside him, his sister wore the simple robes of a diplomat. They had come to defend their species, but the decision seemed already made. The air felt heavy with judgment. Humanity has been part of this council for 50 years, spoke the tall, gray-skinned representative from the oldest member race. His voice echoed through the chamber. In that time, you have started 3 wars, colonized 12 disputed worlds, and developed weapons we explicitly asked you not to create. Stepped forward, her voice remained calm though her hands trembled slightly. We came to you in peace. We shared our culture, our art, our science. Yes, we have made mistakes, but we are learning. Give us time to grow. A creature with 4 eyes and crystal-like skin laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Time? You breed like insects. You expand like a plague. In 50 years, you have doubled your population. In another 100, you will demand 1/4 of the galaxy for yourselves. That is not fair, said, his military training barely containing his anger. Every species here expanded when they were young. You all had your wars, your conflicts. Why judge us differently? Because you are different, said a floating being made of what looked like liquid metal. We have studied your history. Your entire existence is conflict. You fight each other, you fight your environment, you fight everything. Even your entertainment celebrates violence. Raised her hand, asking for permission to speak. Our history also shows cooperation, love, sacrifice. We have created beauty alongside destruction. We are capable of both, just like you. But the council was not listening anymore. The vote had been decided in private chambers long before this meeting. This was just ceremony, a formality to make them feel better about what they were going to do. The gray-skinned elder raised his hand. Silence fell across the hall. The Galactic Council has voted. Humanity is too dangerous to remain among the civilized species. However, we are not cruel. We will not destroy you. Instead, we impose the silence. Felt his blood run cold. The silence was an old punishment, used only 3 times in galactic history. It meant complete isolation. Your home system will be quarantined, the elder continued. We will place a barrier around your sun and all your colonies within. No ship will enter. No ship will leave. No communication will pass through. You will have everything you need to survive, but you will be alone. Perhaps in a few thousand years you will learn wisdom. Then we may speak again. You cannot do this, his voice cracked. We have families spread across the galaxy, students in your universities, workers on your space stations. What about them? They will be given 30 days to return home or choose to remain outside, exiled from their species forever. The choice is theirs. Stepped forward and every weapon in the chamber turned toward him. He stopped but did not back down. You make a mistake. You silence us because you fear us, not because we are wrong. That fear will cost you. Is that a threat? The crystal being asked. No, said quietly. It is a prediction. You have seen what we can do with your technology, your guidance, your limitations. You think isolation will weaken us. You are wrong. You may silence us, but you cannot stop what we are. Humanity does not break under pressure. We adapt. We overcome. We become stronger. The elder stood. Your pride proves our point. The vote is final. You have 30 days to gather your people. Then the barrier will activate. This council meeting is closed. As they walked out of the great hall, wept quietly, put his arm around his sister. They have made their choice, he said. Now we must make ours. The next 30 days were chaos. Ships rushed to Earth and the human colonies, carrying people who chose to return. Some chose to stay outside, cutting themselves off from humanity forever. These were painful choices that split families and broke hearts. On the final day, stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the barrier activate. It started as a shimmer, then grew into a wall of energy that surrounded their entire system. The stars beyond became dark. All the communication channels went silent. Earth and its 12 colonies were alone. Joined him on the bridge. Her eyes were red from crying. "What do we do now?" she asked. Looked at the barrier, then at his sister. "We survive, we build, we learn, and one day we will show them what humanity can become when you leave us alone with our potential. They wanted silence. They will get it. But when we break that silence, the galaxy will listen." Outside the barrier, the council celebrated their wisdom. Inside the barrier, humanity began the longest isolation in their history. Neither side knew that this decision would change the galaxy forever. The silence had begun. 198 years had passed since the barrier went up. Admiral stood in the command center of Horizon Station, staring at the wall of energy that had imprisoned his species for nearly 2 centuries. He was the great-great-grandson of Captain, and he carried that legacy like a weight on his shoulders. "Still looks the same as yesterday," said, walking up beside him with a tablet in his hand. The intelligence officer had been monitoring the barrier for 15 years, looking for any change, any pattern they could use. "Everything looks the same until it does not," replied. "What do you have for me?" Pulled up data on his tablet. "Doctor wants to see you. She says it is important." Nodded. Doctor was their best physicist, maybe the best humanity had ever produced. If she said something was important, you listened. He found her in the laboratory, surrounded by screens showing equations that made his head hurt. "Admiral," she said without looking up, "I have figured it out." "Figured what out?" "The barrier, how it works, how to break it." She finally turned to face him and saw the exhaustion in her eyes. She had been working on this problem for 20 years. "You can bring it down," felt his heart race. "No, better. I can go through it." Pulled up a 3-dimensional model of the barrier. The aliens built this using quantum field manipulation. They assumed we would never understand it because they never taught us the principles. But we had to learn everything ourselves these past 200 years. We had no choice. She zoomed in on the model. "The barrier is not solid. It is like a wall made of waves. If you know the frequency, you can pass through without touching it, like walking between raindrops." Stared at the model. "You are serious?" "Completely. I have tested it on small probes. They pass through without any problems. We can build ships that can leave." "How long have you known this?" 6 months. "Why did you wait to tell me?" Smiled, but there was no happiness in it. "Because I wanted to be sure, and because we need to decide what we do with this information. Do we leave immediately? Do we call out to the council? Or do we wait?" Thought about his ancestor and the words he spoke in the council chamber 2 centuries ago. "We wait. We watch. We learn what has happened out there while we were locked away." They presented the discovery to the leaders of Earth and the colonies. The debate lasted for months. Some wanted to break out immediately and confront the council. Others wanted to stay hidden and build up their strength. In the end, they chose a middle path. Humanity would leave the barrier quietly. They would explore, expand, and watch the galaxy from the shadows. They would learn what the council had become in 200 years. Only then would they decide whether to reveal themselves. The first ship passed through the barrier in year 199 of the Silence. It was a small scout vessel crewed by volunteers. They slipped through the quantum wall like ghosts and emerged into open space for the first time in 2 centuries. The crew wept when they saw the stars again, bright and clear, no longer filtered through the barrier. They found a galaxy that had changed. The great council that had imprisoned them was now struggling. Colonies were abandoned, trade routes were empty, and strangest of all, there were signs of war. "Admiral, you need to see this," the scout ship captain sent back the message. "There is something out here, something attacking council space. We have intercepted their distress signals. They call them the Devourers. Studied the reports in his office. The Devourers were an extragalactic threat, a swarm of ships that consumed everything in their path. The Council was losing, slowly but steadily. They had grown soft in their peace, their technology stagnant, their military strength a shadow of what it once was. "They need us," said, reading over shoulder. Maybe, or maybe they deserve what they get. Knew it was harsh, but 2 centuries of isolation had left scars on humanity's soul. Over the next year, more ships left the barrier. Humanity began building colonies outside their prison, choosing systems far from Council space. They used technology the aliens had never seen, developed during their isolation. Quantum drives that did not need jump gates, AI systems that could think and adapt, weapons that manipulated reality itself. Doctor watched it all with quiet satisfaction. "We did what they feared," she told one day. "We became stronger without them, not because we are superior but because we had to be. Necessity made us innovate." Is that what we tell them when we reveal ourselves? I think we tell them nothing until we are ready. Let them wonder, let them fear. They gave us silence. We will return it with interest. Inside the barrier, the rest of humanity built and prepared. They knew now that their prison had an exit, but they were in no hurry to leave. The galaxy outside was dangerous, and the Council that had imprisoned them was weak. It was a time for patience, for planning. On Earth, in the museum dedicated to the silence, they had preserved Captain's uniform and his sister's diplomatic robes. School children visited and learned about the day humanity was cast out from the galactic community. Teachers told them about the 200 years of isolation, of struggle, of growth. The lesson was always the same. They wanted to silence us because they feared us, but they gave us the greatest gift without knowing it. They gave us time to become what we truly could be, without their rules, without their limitations. Admiral looked at the growing fleet of human ships, each one more advanced than anything the Council possessed. He thought about his ancestors' final words in that great hall. "When we break that silence," he said quietly to himself, "the galaxy will listen." That day was coming soon. Ambassador was old now, very old. She had been 23 when the silence fell, a student on an alien world far from Earth. She chose to stay outside the barrier, cutting herself off from her family and her species. Now, at 218 years old, kept alive by alien medical technology, she watched the Galactic Council die slowly. She sat in a small on the station orbiting the Council. Through the window, she could see warships gathering, preparing for another battle they would likely lose. The Devourers had entered Council space 5 years ago, and nothing could stop them. "Another colony fell yesterday," said the waiter, a young alien with blue skin and sad eyes. "Prime, 3 billion people, they evacuated maybe half." Said nothing. She had heard these reports every day for years now. The Devourers consumed planets, stripped them of all resources, and moved on. They were a swarm with no leaders, no mercy, no way to negotiate. They simply ate and moved forward. "I heard my grandfather talk about humans once," the waiter continued, wiping down the table. "He said they were fierce warriors, that they could fight anyone. Is that true?" Looked at the young alien. "Yes, it is true." "Then why did the Council get rid of them? We could use fierce warriors now." "Because the Council was afraid. They thought peace was more important than strength. They learned too late that sometimes you need both." In the Council chambers, the debate raged as it had for months. The same arguments, the same positions, going in circles while the Devourers grew closer. "We must lift the silence and ask for human assistance," argued a representative whose species had lost 4 worlds already. "Pride is worthless if we are all dead." "And if the humans refuse," countered another. "Or worse, if they demand payment we cannot afford. We trapped them for 200 years. Why would they help us?" The gray-skinned elder who had pronounced the silence was long dead. His successor, younger but still ancient by human standards, sat in the high seat. We do not even know if humanity still exists. Perhaps they destroyed themselves. Perhaps they have reverted to primitive ways. We should send a probe to investigate before making any decisions. This suggestion was met with nods of agreement. It was easier than admitting they were desperate, easier than facing what they had done. Heard about the probe through her contacts. She still had friends, even after all these years. The probe would enter the barrier and assess humanity's status. The Council expected to find either ruins or primitives begging for contact. She laughed when she heard this. They understood nothing. The probe entered the barrier 2 weeks later. The Council waited for its return, expecting data, images, proof that humanity was contained and controlled. Instead, the probe came back with its memory completely empty. Every sensor reading had been wiped. Every image was gone. There was only a single message in the probe's core memory, written in perfect galactic standard. We know you are watching. We know what you face. When you are ready to ask properly, we will listen. The council chamber erupted in chaos. How had humanity detected the probe? How had they wiped its memory? And most terrifying of all, the message implied they knew about the devourers. How long had they been watching? Smiled when she heard about the message. That was so perfectly human. Not aggressive, not hostile, but making it clear they were not helpless primitives waiting to be rescued. The debates in the council grew more heated. Some wanted to send warships to force the barrier down. Others argued for diplomacy. A few suggested simply abandoning human space and retreating to the far side of the galaxy. Meanwhile, the devourers kept coming. Walked through the station's memorial garden, where they had built monuments to the fallen worlds. 17 monuments now, with more being planned. Each one represented billions of lives lost. She met an old friend there, one of the crystalline beings who had laughed at humanity 200 years ago. He looked different now. His crystal structure was cracked and dim. He said quietly, "I owe your species an apology. You are not the one who needs to apologize. You were just following the majority." "No," I laughed. "I called humans a plague. Now I see what a real plague looks like and I understand the difference. Humans expanded, yes, but they built. They created. The devourers only destroy. We confused ambition with malice." Will the council admit this? The crystal being looked at the monuments. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. The council will ask for human help. They have no choice, but I fear what price humanity will demand. Maybe they will help for free, suggested. Would you, after 200 years of imprisonment? Thought about her family, the ones she left behind inside the barrier. She had received no word from them in 2 centuries. They might all be dead. Her choice to stay outside might have been for nothing. "I do not know," she admitted. "I have been separated from my people for so long I am not sure I understand them anymore. Maybe isolation changed them. Maybe it made them bitter. Maybe it made them something new." 3 more worlds fell that week. The council could not hold the line. Their weapons were outdated, their tactics predictable, their unity fractured by fear. Species that had worked together for thousands of years now argued about who should sacrifice their worlds to slow the devourers down. Received a private message on her personal terminal. It had no source, no signature, but she knew immediately it was from inside the barrier. "Grandmother," it read, "we know you are out there. We know you chose to stay behind. We do not blame you. When the time comes, find the coordinates we have attached. Come home, your family waits." She read the message 3 times, tears streaming down her old face. They knew about her. They had been watching. They called her grandmother, which meant her line had continued even without her. The coordinates pointed to an empty region of space, far from council territory. Booked passage on a transport ship immediately. Back in the council chambers, they prepared another message to humanity. This time, not a probe, but a formal request for contact. They would ask nicely. They would admit they needed help. They would beg if necessary. But they still did not understand what humanity had become in 200 years of silence. They were about to find out. Fleet Admiral reviewed the tactical display one final time. Across 50 star systems, human ships waited in the darkness between stars, invisible to Council sensors. They had been there for months, watching, learning, preparing for this moment. "All fleets report ready," said General from the military command ship. His Marines were prepared to deploy if needed, though hoped it would not come to that. "Are you ready?" asked. The young diplomat appeared on the screen. She looked so much like her grandmother that it hurt to look at her sometimes. "I have the message prepared. Are we sure about this approach?" "We are sure. The Council sent their request for contact. We will answer, but on our terms." The Council's message had been humble, almost desperate. They admitted their mistake. They asked for help against the Devourers. They promised to discuss new terms for humanity's membership. But they still did not understand what they were dealing with. "Execute Operation Homecoming," ordered. Across Council space, human ships appeared simultaneously, not emerging from jump gates like the aliens expected, but simply materializing from quantum drives that folded space itself. 50 ships appeared over 50 different Council worlds, all at the exact same moment. The Council's defense systems went into immediate panic. Alarms screamed across every military station. Ships that looked like nothing in any database had just appeared in their most secure systems. Each human ship broadcast the same message, delivered by calm voice. "Greetings, Galactic Council. Humanity has returned. We wish to speak." The Council's response was chaos. Some wanted to fire immediately. Others argued for dialogue. The new elder, the one who had sent the probe, called for an emergency session. "How did they get here?" someone shouted. "Our sensors showed nothing. No jump gate activation, no warp signatures, nothing." "Their technology is beyond our understanding," an analyst reported. "The ships themselves use principles we have never seen. They are generating their own quantum fields, manipulating local space-time. This is not possible with known physics." "Clearly it is possible," the elder said dryly. "They are doing it right in front of us." A communication request came through from one of the human ships. The Council accepted it, and its face appeared on their screens. "I am Fleet Admiral of the Human Commonwealth Defense Fleet. I speak for humanity. We received your request for contact. Before we discuss anything else, you need to understand what you are dealing with." She gestured and the display changed to show technical specifications. "We left your barrier 20 years ago. We have been watching you since then. We know about the Devourers. We know about your losses. We know about your weakness." "This is how you answer a request for help," one Council member demanded, "with threats and intimidation." "No," said quietly. "This is how we answer 200 years of imprisonment. You wanted us silent. You got your wish. We were very silent as we spread across 70 systems outside your territory. We were very quiet as we developed technology you cannot match. We made no sound at all as we studied the Devourers and learned their weaknesses." The Council chamber fell silent. "You have been fighting the Devourers for 5 years," continued. "You have lost 17 worlds. We have been fighting them for 15 years in regions you know nothing about. We have lost 0 worlds. Would you like to know why?" The elder leaned forward. "Please." The display changed again, showing human ships engaging Devourer swarms. The aliens watched in amazement as human weapons tore through the Devourer formations. Quantum disruption fields collapsed their shield harmonics. AI-controlled drones adapted faster than the swarm could respond. Reality-warping missiles made entire sections of the swarm simply cease to exist. "You fight them with conventional weapons," explained. "You use tactics that worked against other biological species, but the Devourers are not biological. They are a machine intelligence that learns from every battle. You cannot defeat them by doing the same thing over and over. And you can defeat them, the elder asked. We have been defeating them, but we cannot be everywhere at once. Your territory is vast. Your people are dying. We could help. But first, we need to discuss terms. What do you want? The elder asked, though he already knew the answer would be painful. Before could respond, another voice joined the communication. It was, speaking from a small ship approaching the council. I am Ambassador, the last human who chose to remain outside the barrier. I have lived among you for 218 years. I have watched this council decline from a position of strength into a shadow of what it was. I speak now not for humanity, but for the truth. She continued, her old voice steady and clear. You silenced humanity because you feared their potential. That fear was not wrong. Humans are dangerous. But you forgot that danger and strength are not the same as evil. You could have guided them. Instead, you imprisoned them. You turned potential allies into strangers, and now you need them more than they need you. The council members shifted uncomfortably. His face appeared on the screen beside. Grandmother is correct. We do not need you. We have built a civilization that functions perfectly well without the council. We have technology, resources, and territory. We could leave you to face the devourers alone, and humanity would survive. Then why are you here? The crystalline being asked, the same one who had laughed at humans 2 centuries ago. Because we are human, said simply. We could abandon you. We could watch you fall and feel justified in our revenge, but that is not who we are. We fight. We protect, even those who have wronged us. It is our nature, the same nature you feared and imprisoned. Took control again. Here are our terms. 1. The Galactic Council as it exists will dissolve. A new galactic union will form with all species, including humanity, as equal founding members. 2. Every species leader who voted for the silence will publicly apologize and step down from power. 3. All records of the silence will be made public, so future generations understand what pride and fear can cost. 4. Humanity will lead the military response against the devourers, with council species supporting under human command. Accept these terms and we will save your people. Refuse, and we will protect only human interests. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some called the terms too harsh. Others said they were fair given the circumstances. The debate raged for hours. Finally, the elder stood. I was not part of the original vote for silence, but I inherited the consequences of that decision. I accept these terms. I will step down when this crisis is over. Those who imprisoned you were wrong. We were all wrong. We beg for your help, not as superiors asking servants, but as desperate people asking warriors to save us. Nodded slowly. Then we have an agreement. General will coordinate military operations. Doctor will share our devourer countermeasure technology. Ambassador will begin negotiations for the new Galactic Union Charter. And humanity will show you what we learned in 200 years of silence. What did you learn? The elder asked quietly. That isolation makes you focus on what matters. That necessity breeds innovation. That fear can make you strong or destroy you, depending on your choice. Smiled. And that sometimes the species you silence becomes the one you need most. The transmission ended. Human ships moved into defensive positions around council worlds. The war against the devourers was about to change. Chancellor stood on the bridge of the flagship Reconciliation, watching the battle unfold across multiple displays. Commander coordinated the joint human-alien fleet with calm efficiency, her voice steady as she gave orders that combined human tactics with alien resources. Devourer swarm approaching from Sector 7, reported. Alien cruisers fall back to position Delta. Human strike craft deploy quantum disruptors on my mark. 3, 2, 1 mark. The display showed the coordinated attack. Alien ships, following human commands for the first time in history, created a defensive wall. Human fighters, small and fast, wove through the Devourer formation. Their quantum disruptors fired, and sections of the swarm simply stopped functioning, their machine intelligence disrupted at the quantum level. Swarm is breaking formation, announced. Alien artillery target the dispersed units, fire at will. The alien ships opened fire, and this time their weapons found targets that could not adapt fast enough. The Devourers had learned to counter conventional tactics, but they had never faced this combination of human innovation and alien firepower working together. Swarm destroyed, confirmed. Minimal casualties, 2 alien cruisers damaged but repairable, all human craft returning. Allowed himself a small smile. This was the 15th joint operation, and each one worked better than the last. The aliens were learning to trust human leadership. The humans were learning to work with alien technology. Together, they were winning. In the command center, reviewed the political developments. As chief negotiator and great-grandson of Captain, he carried the responsibility of reshaping galactic governance. The new Galactic Union Charter was almost complete. The last holdouts have agreed, his assistant reported. All 47 species have signed the charter. The old council is officially dissolved. Reviewed the document one final time. Equal representation for all species. Decisions by majority vote with no single species holding veto power. Military command based on merit, not seniority. Open sharing of technology and resources. It was everything the old council was not. What about the apologies? Asked. Scheduled for tomorrow. All 23 leaders who voted for the silence will make public statements and step down from their positions. Good had insisted on this, not for revenge but for truth. Future generations needed to understand what had happened and why. The next day, the galaxy watched as one leader after another stood before their people and admitted their mistake. Some did it with grace, others struggled with the words, but all of them said essentially the same thing. We were wrong to fear humanity, we were wrong to imprison them, and we are sorry. The crystalline being who had laughed at humans 200 years ago was among them. His statement was simple. I thought humanity was a plague. I was wrong. The real plague is pride, and I was infected with it. I apologize to all humans, past and present, for my role in the silence. I hope future generations will learn from my failure. Watched these apologies from Earth, where she had finally returned after 218 years. Her family had welcomed her with tears and joy. She walked through cities she barely recognized, built with technology she did not understand, among people who called her a hero for her lonely vigil outside the barrier. Did you ever think you would see this day? Her great-great-granddaughter asked as they watched the apologies together. No, admitted. I thought I would die out there alone, having abandoned my people for nothing, but I was wrong too. My choice mattered. I was able to tell the truth about the council's decline. I was able to help, even in a small way. You were not small, you were a bridge. We needed someone who understood both sides. Smiled, then I am glad I stayed, even though it cost me everything I knew. Back at the battlefront, the combined fleet pushed the Devourers back system by system. Human technology made the difference. Quantum disruptors that broke swarm coordination. Adaptive AI that learned faster than the enemy. Reality-warping shields that made conventional attacks useless. But it was not just human technology that won. Alien ships provided raw firepower. Alien logistics kept the fleet supplied across vast distances. Alien intelligence gathered information about Devourer movements. It was cooperation, true cooperation, that turned the tide. Commander stood on the bridge after another successful battle, looking at the alien officers who now served under her command. They had doubted her at first. A human woman, young by their standards, giving them orders. But she had proven herself through competence and courage. Commander, one of the alien officers approached. I wanted to thank you. You saved my today. My family lives because of your tactics. Nodded, we saved it together. Your people fought well. But you led well. I thought humans would be vengeful, angry about the silence. Instead, you treat us with respect. Anger is easy, said. Cooperation is hard. We chose the hard path. 6 months after the formation of the Galactic Union, the Devourers were finally defeated. The last swarm was destroyed in a coordinated strike involving ships from 12 different species, led by human commanders but executed by everyone together. Called for a gathering on the new Union Station, built in neutral space between human and alien territories. Leaders from all species attended, along with military commanders, scientists, and ordinary citizens who had fought in the war. Stood to speak, his voice carrying across the assembled thousands. 200 years ago, my great-grandfather stood in the council chamber and said that humanity would become stronger in isolation. He was right. We did become stronger, but not in the way the council feared. He paused, looking at the faces around him. Human and alien, young and old, all listening. We became stronger in our unity. We learned that working together makes everyone better. We discovered that different perspectives create better solutions. We proved that fear divides but cooperation conquers. The council tried to silence us because they thought we were too dangerous. They were right to see our potential. They were wrong to fear it. An alien elder stood to respond. On behalf of all species who supported the silence, I say again that we were wrong. But I also say that perhaps this outcome is better than what would have happened without it. If humanity had remained in the council 200 years ago, perhaps we would have grown comfortable together. Perhaps we would have stagnated like we did without you. The silence was a mistake, but it forged you into what we needed you to become. Shook his head. With respect, elder, that is a dangerous way to think. We became strong despite the silence, not because of it. We lost 200 years of cooperation. We lost lives to the Devourers that might have been saved if we had worked together from the start. We cannot call a mistake good just because we survived it. You are right, the elder agreed. We must never make such a choice again. Fear must never guide us more than wisdom. The ceremony continued with the lighting of a memorial flame. It would burn forever on the Union Station, remembering all who died in the war against the Devourers and all who suffered during the silence. Later and stood together, watching through the windows as ships from dozens of species moved peacefully through space, no longer separated by fear and pride. Do you think it will last? Asked, this unity. It will if we work at it, replied. Peace is not natural. It is built day by day, choice by choice. We have to keep choosing cooperation over fear, unity over pride. Like said in the council chamber, we became what we are not through superiority, but through necessity. And now the galaxy becomes what it should have been all along, not perfect but trying, not fearless but facing fear together. They watched the ships, human and alien, moving in harmony. The silence was over. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the museum on Earth, Captain's uniform stood in a place of honor, a reminder of the day humanity was silenced, and the 200 years it took for the galaxy to learn to listen.